It's time!
Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now because it's the place that it.
Hello, and welcome to the TWSN Patreon page. Here we will provide you with the sports betting tips, picks, and information in order for you to become a successful gambler. We have 5 packages that I think really do an incredible job of providing the information tailored to you, what you want, and what your sports betting needs are. For more information, reach out to the TWSN team, but we have a ton of stuff coming your way. Content from fantasy football, sports betting for UFC, NBA, NHL, and of course the NFL. We are so excited to be able to bring this service to you, and let us know if there's any more information you need.
Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now because it's the place that it all goes down on.
What's going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to another edition of Strikes and Submissions. I'm your host, Dorian Wright, here with my co-host, Michael Daly. How you doing, Mike?
Dorian, I'm great. I do want to say 2 things, though, because obviously, and I'll say this first, in the United States, especially in the Southeast and the Northeast, a lot of people are dealing with hurricanes. And the great thing about our show and all of the shows here at TWSN is that we're a getaway. In a way, we're kind of the candy store where for an hour, once a week, you can get your mind off of everything and come watch 2 guys, or in other shows' cases, multiple people talk about sports. So that's what we're here for. That won't change tonight, regardless of what's happening in the country. We're here for you. We're here to talk about fighting. And the second thing I want to talk about, I want to give a quick birthday shout out to our CEO, Malik Wright. Not trying to sound like a kiss up, but you know what, Dorian, I think I could speak for you as well as myself, saying thank you so much to Malik for everything he's done. Not only do we appreciate him today, but every day.
For sure. And one time for my guy Malik, I'll give a quick hooday. Bengals fans know what's up. But yeah, and again, prayers up to everybody. I've seen a whole bunch of stuff flooded. I lost power last night. I didn't know if, this would even go on, but luckily I've gotten power. I'm okay. My family's okay. So hope everything's well on your end as well. And let's dive straight into the meat and potatoes, Mike. You called it. Jake Paul did not Tyron Woodley out, but unfortunately, Jake Paul, I guess I shouldn't say unfortunately. I'm done hating on the kid. Jake Paul beat Tyron Woodley over the weekend. If you guys live under a rock, Jake Paul is a Disney star who turned YouTube sensation, turned pro boxer. Tyron Woodley is one of the greatest welterweight UFC fighters of all time. They stepped in the boxing ring. And your guy got the dub, Mike. So go ahead, rub it in. I'm waiting.
I could rub it in, Dorian, but you know what? It's too easy. It's low-hanging fruit for me to do that. But I did call it. I may not have gotten it exactly right because I did say there was going to be a stoppage. But Jake Paul, I knew, even though his cardio may have been in question, if he was able to withstand any power that's coming his way, it would be a hard time for Tyron Woodley to find more shots. Because his problem in the UFC was being tentative, being gun-shy, some people would call him. At times, he would light people on fire like he did against Josh Koscheck. But if he can't do that, what is he going to bring to the table? Yes, he was on the prowl. Yes, he was on the hunt for 8 rounds, but he wasn't throwing. And the reason why he wasn't throwing is because he knew there was a threat of being countered. And there were times where he was countered. He even got wobbled a little bit. In the post-fight press conference, he called out Jake for wobbling. But Tyron also had a moment where he was in the clinch, got hit with a nice hook, and he started to stammer a bit. Nothing wrong with it, but he knew the power that Jake had. And Jake all around, this was a great test. I thought he passed it, not with flying colors. I think he still has a lot to work on, especially if he's calling out people like Canelo and Conor, which I would not advise him to fight those guys. But those are possible fights down the line for him. And I think Jake, yes, he has to shore some things up. I think the most important thing for Jake Paul is taking time off. Take time off to work on your conditioning. Take time off to hone your boxing skills, because if you are going to fight an actual boxer this time around, there are things that you got away with facing Tyron Woodley that an actual boxer will not let you get away with. So I think if Jake Paul takes about 6 months off, refines everything, he's got a great camp around him, just take some time, I think he'll be in good hands, Dorian.
Okay, that's fair. There's no chance he will ever step foot in the ring with Canelo as long as Canelo's active. I'll say that.
I agree.
If Canelo retires and 5 years later, okay, maybe. But no, I was actually impressed by Jake. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not going to be. Yeah, I can't throw egg on his face today as I thought I would be able to. T Wood did crack him. I think it was in the 4th round. T Wood cracked him into the ropes. Should have been called the knockdown.
Exactly. It should have been, because the thing in boxing, Dorian, if the ropes hold you up, that's a knockdown.
Yeah. So it wasn't called a knockdown. But even if he were to get that, he wouldn't have won the fight on points. One judge gave him the fight, which was something to be said. But anywho, and they were in Jake's hometown. Ironically enough, you would think he would get, the longer end of the stick, I guess. But yeah, no, it was a decent match. I think, UFC and MMA fans were not surprised with Tyron Woodley's performance. If you've seen him in the past, 2-3 years, like you said, he's real gun shy. He hasn't really been able to get off. We thought, if it's boxing, he doesn't have to worry about a takedown, don't have to worry about submissions. He'll let his hands go. He didn't. So it was unfortunate to see him not let his hands go. I would have liked to see if Jake could have withstood an onslaught. After what should have been knocked down, he was kind of playing around. It was very, very, very interesting. I'll say, similar to Nate Diaz and Leon Edwards, when Nate had him hurt, he kind of pointed at him and started walking. Didn't look like he was going in for the kill. So same thing happened with Tyron. And the thing I want to talk about is not what Jake Paul is going to do. He said he's retired. He's unretired. He's making excuses. I got to go to the dentist. I haven't been to the dentist in so long. Come on, dog. Nobody cares. But one thing I do want to say, they had a bet. Loser has to get I love the others tattooed on them. They had like the little band or whatever it was going to be tattooed on. They both shook on it. Man of their words. I don't know if Tyron's gotten it yet. I got to check his Instagram or something like that. But in the ring, he was saying, I'll get the tattoo if you give me the rematch. And in my head, I'm like, you're supposed to get the tattoo anyway, Tyron. But and this is a really, really strong if I get dragged into another Jake Paul fight, I would want it to be against Tyron Woodley. I don't want to see him go up against Tommy Fury, just because Fury couldn't put away Jake's sparring partner. Like he said, he's like, you had 4 rounds. You couldn't put away my sparring partner. No offense, but you're not ready for me. I personally don't want to see that. I want to see him keep bringing over MMA guys to box simply because he's getting them big paydays. And who doesn't love Tyron Woodley? So that was my takeaway. If Jake ever steps in the ring again, I want it to be against Tyron or against another MMA guy. I don't want to see him go up against Fury or Canelo, or not even Conor, because Conor looked good against Floyd. So even though he's way smaller than Jake, I don't want to see him and Jake. That'll be a decapitation. And I know I've been saying that the past couple times Jake has stepped in and I've been wrong, but Conor actually does have the hands to put Jake to sleep.
Respectfully, Dorian, I have to disagree with you. The one fight I don't want to see is Jake Paul-Tyron Woodley 2, because we already saw it the first time. And here's why I don't want to see it again. Because Jake is the A side. Contractually speaking, Jake is not obligated to give Tyron Woodley a rematch. The fight wasn't that close. Tyron Woodley, on my scorecard, and I'm sure a lot of people's scorecards, lost minimum 5 rounds. He won the 4th. I had him winning the 7th. And that was it. It wasn't really that close. So We already saw them fight. What's going to be different? The only difference is Tyron might try to be less tentative and go in for the kill. But by then, I think Jake's cardio will be better. I still think Jake beats Tyron Woodley. The fight that I think needs to happen, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury. I know you don't want to see it. I know you were not pleased with Tommy Fury's performance against Anthony Taylor, and that's fine. But can we take into account the fact that he was fighting someone who is primarily a mixed martial artist, although heading into that fight, Taylor did have one pro bout in boxing. Taylor's also 6 inches shorter. His reach was very small. I believe it was about 66 inches. So he had short arms. It's a different style. It's something that Tommy Fury has never seen before. I think if Tommy Fury were to fight Jake Paul, I think he were to starch Jake Paul. I do. And I've been hearing a lot of people the other way around saying, oh, Jake would obliterate Tommy. How? Because look, Tommy Fury, you can say he's fought tomato cans, which he has, but he also has 10 amateur bouts under his belt. Jake has 1 amateur bout under his belt. That's a big difference. Tommy does have experience, and Tommy came up in the boxing world. So he knows what it's like to be in the gym, bite down on that mouthpiece. Not saying Jake doesn't, but Jake doesn't have the same amount of time as Tommy does. So I think that's the fight to make, because now Jake is fighting a quote-unquote real boxer. So now you're feeding him to a legitimate boxer. I think it will be a good fight, but I think Tommy will stop him because Jake is a traditional boxer. Anthony Taylor wasn't. So I can't really fault Tommy Fury for not being able to stop Jake Paul's sparring partner.
I think that you laid out all the reasons he should have stopped him. He's the smaller guy. He's not as experienced in boxing, maybe mixed martial arts, yes, but strictly boxing. Like you said, Fury grew up boxing. Like that just listen to his last name, Fury. We know whose last name that really is. So we're not gonna say he shouldn't have stopped him because he's smaller. I'm not rolling with that. I think if your next fight is going to be Jake Paul, you have to make a statement or you have to do something. There has to be some type of backstory. Like with, Ben Askren, he kind of just called him out. I don't really know the backstory behind that. I think it was him and Masvidal were, in the gym together, and all of a sudden Ben Askren said something. Okay, I'll fight you, Ben. And then with Tyron Woodley, it was, the mix up before the Ben fight in the back. But with Fury, there's no real backstory. There's no backing behind the fight. And I know Jake Paul is a machine on his own. He can sell the fight on his own. He'll do some stupid stuff and, got your hat and run away. So he can sell the fight. I'm not worried about that. But I just think from his perspective, he probably wants a bigger payday. And I think he'll get a bigger payday if he can have those crossover fans watch, such as MMA fans.
I just think, Dorian, the right fight to make for now is Tommy Fury, because Jake can always go back to the well of mixed martial arts. It'll be hard for him to really do work with the UFC. There's got to be a big-time bag for the UFC to get involved. And also, the UFC and Showtime don't really get along. So it will have to take some real convincing for Jake Paul Showtime to do work with the UFC. But just say there's another experienced fighter down the line a year or two from now who falls out of the UFC. Jake could fight them. But right now, I think Jake has to level up, because the whole reason why he took this fight against Tyron Woodley was to use him as a stepping stone. And you can say, all right, well, Tommy Fury didn't have a great performance, so how does that qualify him to be in there with Jake Paul? Okay, he struggled. But you know why he deserves to be in there? And pretty much the moment in time where it was stamped? After Jake Paul's fight, they met up in the hallway. That said it all there, Dorian. Especially all of Tommy Fury's press conference, he was answering questions about Jake Paul. And in Jake Paul's press conference, he moved on from Tyron Woodley. He was focused on Tommy Fury. I think you got to pair them up, because the whole point of Tommy Fury fighting on that card in the first place was so that he could eventually fight Jake Paul. And now we're just not going to have these two fight. I don't think it makes sense.
Well, one thing I will agree with is I do think they should box eventually. I just don't know if it's next.
Okay.
I think Fury has to maybe go get a knockout over someone, because aside from Woodley, Jake Paul's knocked everybody out. So one thing, real quick question I wanted to ask you about this. What do you think Woodley should do? You think Woodley should stay in the boxing realm, or you think he should just hang up the gloves entirely?
This is a conversation of what should Woodley do as opposed to what he wants to do. From what he said, especially in the lead up to his previous fight with Jake Paul, he wants to keep boxing. But if I'm Tyron Woodley, you just fought on Showtime, and Showtime is the broadcasting partner to Bellator. Go join Bellator. You are still 39 years old. If he were to fight in Bellator, Dorian, I don't know if you agree, I think he could compete for a world title at 170 pounds. He still has a future in MMA. May not be in the UFC, but in Bellator, go fight there. You have a few fights still out there for you. That's the best way to put it. He still has several fights in MMA. He could keep fighting as a boxer, but I don't think that's the lane for him. You saw pretty much his best punch the other night against a real boxer. Is he going to win? No. If he's fighting a contender in the WBA, let's just say, is he going to beat that contender? No, he's not. But in Bellator, there's a good chance he could be fighting Yaroslav Amosov and be contending for Amosov's belt. I think Tyron Woodley needs to go to Bellator.
Interesting. I was thinking, I just think he needs to hang it up entirely. The reason I wouldn't want him in Bellator is because I don't think, yes, the competition is different. It's a different level in the UFC, but I don't think, given his last 3 or 4 performances, he's even shown that he can compete with, let alone Amosov, if he can compete with Lima, because he's been outstruck by Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman, and Colby Covington put a pace on him, and he had the injury. It was a little weird, and then he came out and tried to starch Luque immediately, and then he got choked out. So I don't know if he's really, his fights haven't been close, is what I'm trying to say. So if you go to another promotion and then you continue to lose fights in the same fashion, I think it would just be indicative on his MMA career. I think if he stays in boxing, at least he can hold his head high and say, I'm one of the greatest welterweights ever. If he keeps losing and losing and losing, it's only going to hurt his legacy.
I don't know if that's necessarily true, because look at someone like Fedor Emelianenko. He's still looked at on the Mount Rushmore of heavyweight greats. That's how people look at him. Although he never fought in the UFC, he fought in Bellator, Pride, a bunch of other organizations, and lost. People still look at him fondly. The fact that Tyron Woodley now is going to keep boxing, there's no incentive. He's not going to keep winning unless he fights other YouTubers or other athletes who have little to no experience. If he fights someone with as much experience as Jake Paul, he's going to lose in a boxing ring. He needs to go back to MMA. There is still a chance. He still wants to fight. Why stop now? He's still in great shape, athletically speaking. There's still a chance. And even if he loses in Bellator, why put it out there that you're just leaving everything on the table and not at least attempting it? I think he has a shot at beating someone like Douglas Lima, but if you put him in there with someone like Jason Jackson or Yaroslav Amosov, that's where he runs into similar issues that he had. But with that being said, though, why not try? You don't, to me at least, Dorian, I know you feel differently. I don't see him having much of a future in boxing, at least the way he sees it. But in MMA, he still has a chance to compete for a world title.
That's fair. I guess we can agree to disagree on that one. I think he has as much of a chance for a world title in boxing as he does in MMA. Not off of his skills, but just his name. You can get a belt in boxing way easier than you can get a belt in Bellator.
I don't know about that. I don't know, because he would have to fight at cruiserweight in boxing. There's only 4 belts to be had, and they're pretty much locked. So you have to be able to beat contenders to get that to then get there. I think because he's so well established in MMA, he wins one fight in Bellator. He's fighting for the 170-pound title. Or if he wants to move up to middleweight, I think he beats most guys except for John Salter. And Austin Vanderford might give him trouble in order to get to Gegard Mousasi.
That would be okay. Yeah, at 85, absolutely. But I don't think he can jump in and, beat Jason Jackson and then get a title shot when you got Lima and MVP about to fight next month. But if he moved up to middleweight, I could see, I can see where you're coming from on that. I'll actually agree with you on that one. Maybe Tyron Woodley should join Bellator. I don't know if his UFC deal had expired or what.
It did expire. That's why he was able to fight Jake Paul.
Okay, so good for him. Hopefully he goes and gets some Bellator money. They're handing out checks too. But last thing I'll say on the card, performance of the night, Amanda Serrano. I think we can both agree on that. She looked amazing. But switching over to some UFC here, because we had another great striking match over the weekend. We had Giga Chikadze going up against Edson Barboza. These two featherweights have been, Barboza's been at lightweight, but these two featherweights are world-renowned strikers. And this was, Giga saying, I'm the best in the UFC. And Edson's like, okay, I took this fight because I knew it'd be exciting for the fans. How'd you think that fight went?
I was proven wrong. I doubted Giga Chikadze's striking ability. I knew he was a great striker. But when you're comparing him against someone like Edson Barboza, because he was fighting Edson Barboza, especially with the talent pool he fought before last Saturday's fight, it's hard for me or really anyone to say that he was on Edson Barboza's level. But boy, I'll tell you, after that performance, he is. The way he was able to just take over, not too many people can do that against Edson Barboza. Look at Shane Burgos. Many people thought that was going to be the fight of the night at UFC 262. And Barboza won that fight handily. Finished him. It was a crazy ending to that fight. But experience defeated Shane Burgos. Edson Barboza is a beast. So with all of that being said, for Giga Chikadze to take all of the experience and throw it out of the window and say, that doesn't matter. I'm the best striker at 145 pounds, and I'm going to show you. It's outstanding. It's commendable. And Giga Chikadze, Dorian, is off to the races. That's the best way for me to put it. If you're able to do that against Edson Barboza, who before the fight was closing in on a title fight, then you literally just jumped in line. You just took his spot, and now you get to choose what you want to do.
Yeah, and not for nothing, he has his pick of the litter because aside from Ortega and Volk, no one else is booked up. Max and Yair isn't officially done. Obviously Max pulled out. He has been calling for Max. He's saying, I want Max, and then I want the title shot. I don't know if he's going to jump that high. I think there are a few names that he has to get through or get past. He did have an amazing performance. He threw a mean knee at Barboza that just started the end of it all, just teed off on him. I would like to see him go up against more of a grappler. I want to see him and Arnold Allen or something like that. I've been seeing a lot of people asking for him against Calvin Kattar maybe. I still don't think Calvin Kattar has cleared concussion protocol, not for nothing, after that Max fight. But, yeah, overall, it was a good fight. I think this might have been the first time in his life, definitely in the UFC, maybe in his life, that Edson Barboza has been not only outstruck, but has been the slower of the two fighters. Like, Giga's kicks are lightning fast. His hands are lightning fast. And I knew he was a good striker, right? We had discussed this. It's going to be a kickboxing match primarily. Nobody shooting for a takedown, no real clinch work. But when I saw how he was just picking apart Edson on his back foot, that's what really got it. That's what really got him in my God level striking tiers, because that's hard to do. For those of you guys who didn't see the fight, please rewatch it. it's so hard to win a fight on your back foot with your back up against the cage. Ask Corey Sandhagen. TJ was pressing him. Corey was doing some damage, but he ended up losing the fight. Probably because of octagon control and a little bit of grappling. Giga was winning the fight off his back foot. And then when he did start going forward, he finished Barboza. So I think it was an amazing performance overall. And it kind of leads us into our next topic. I know we have Israel Adesanya, who is the best striker in the UFC. I don't think there's any real debate. But aside from him, who do you think is the best striker in the UFC? Is it Giga?
Dorian, we don't even need to say aside. I don't think it's Israel Adesanya. I don't think it's Giga Chikadze either. I think the best striker in the UFC is Ciryl Gane. The reason why Ciryl Gane is the very best striker in the UFC is because he is fighting in a division where one punch, boom, the lights are out, the fight's over, get in the back of the line, back of the drawing board. The way he is able to get in and out of the pocket at 245 plus pounds is something the UFC has never seen before out of a heavyweight. 185, we have seen it before. We have seen Anderson Silva do similar things that Israel Adesanya is doing. Ciryl Gane, we have never seen that before. And at 145 for Giga Chikadze, what about Max Holloway? I don't necessarily know if he's a better striker in terms of output than Max Holloway is. Ciryl Gane, by far, from 170 up, is the best striker. No debate. You could try to say it's Israel Adesanya because of his style, but Israel Adesanya, yes, he may be more technical, but in terms of being effective and being able to slip in and out of the pocket and not get touched, it's Ciryl Gane.
That's a fair point. I can't dispute you when you say at heavyweight we've never seen someone move like that, because we haven't. Cyril's amazing. I want to throw a name out there for you. Jan, the Polish Hammer, Blachowicz.
Okay.
He may not seem like he has the cool strike. He doesn't have flashy techniques, but I think aside from Izzy, I would have to give the nod to Jan. And if not for anything else, because he outstruck Israel Adesanya when they fought. Before the takedowns, rounds 1, 2, and 3, Jan was outlanding Izzy. And I know Izzy's a little tentative. He's a little, obviously at 205 is another weight class. One punch will turn your lights out as well. Mm-hmm. But not saying he was flawless like Gane was in his last fight, but Jan's striking is not to be played with. And I think I even overlooked his striking with the commentary. It kind of was a little biased. They can get a little biased sometimes towards the guys they like. And they were like, oh yeah, Izzy's up 2 rounds. And I'm looking like the significant strikes say otherwise because Jan outstruck Izzy, and I have Izzy as my number 1 striker in the UFC. So me personally, aside from Izzy, I'll give Jan the nod over Ciryl Gane. I think Jan, when it comes to striking, Ciryl is flawless. I have nothing to critique him. What I will say is it's more of a point fighting than it is going to finish the fight. Now, obviously, he did finish Derek Lewis, but look at his fight against Rosenstruck. It's point fighting, didn't get the finish. You look at Jan's last few fights, he's finishing dudes, aside from Izzy. Dominic Reyes, those body kicks tore his ribs up and then slept in. You look at Corey Anderson, he sent him out the UFC. Mm-hmm. Corey Anderson, so you want to talk about Bellator winning a belt in Bellator. Corey Anderson is in Bellator because Jan put him out the promotion. So, again, they're huge guys where one punch can end the fight, and he doesn't get touched very much. You never see his face bloodied and beaten. He doesn't seem like he's ever in a brawl. So I don't have Giga. I don't have Ciryl Gane. I have Izzy, and then right after, real close second, I'm still going to give Izzy the nod just because he did move up. I'll give him some pound for pound space to play with. But I think Jan might be the second best striker in the UFC.
Dorian, I wish I could disagree with you, but you make a very, very good point. You do. The problem, though, You always do, but the problem is that I don't think enough people have seen Jan Blachowicz fight, and that is so unfortunate because he's really only rose on the scene in the last 2 years, I would say. But in those 2 years, he's put on a clinic. And you know what? I am so glad you brought up Jan Blachowicz because his performance against Adesanya was a big reason why I couldn't sit here and say, oh, Izzy by far is the best striker. I couldn't say that because he was outstruck by Jan, like you said. I wish I could disagree with you. It would be more entertaining that way. And you know, you and I love to disagree. But Jan, with his power and his ability to throw, I think there is a good case. But the problem is at an elite level, we just haven't seen a whole lot of him. We've only really seen 3 fights for Jan Blachowicz. But if he's able to put on a clinic against Glover Teixeira or Yuri Prohaska, whoever he ends up fighting, then you know what? I don't think there's a problem with saying Jan Blachowicz is, if not the best striker, the second best.
And I actually missed a big one. Not only did he put Corey, no offense to Corey Anderson, I love Corey Anderson, actually. He's a really funny dude. Not only did he put him out the promotion, he retired Luke Rockhold, who's now coming back. And we know how good of a striker Luke is. You know, he's the question mark kick king. And Luke Rockhold, I don't want to be disrespectful, but his move up to light heavyweight was very, very, very short-lived.
Well, Dorian, everyone thought when Luke Rockhold moved up to 205, he was going to make quick work of Jan Blachowicz and then fight John Jones. Because if I'm not mistaken, that same fight was on the undercard or was the main card of John Jones, Thiago Santos. I'm pretty sure that was the case. I think it was July 2019. So that would definitely
correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that would make a lot of that would make a lot of sense for Yuri Prohaska to beat Rockhold because again, at that time, Jan, to I guess the casual fan you could say, was relatively unknown, even though he had fought big names in the past, whether it was at 185 pounds, even 5 years ago tomorrow, Jan fought Alexander Gustafsson. That just goes to show how long Jan has been in the UFC and the guys he has been fighting. But the thing is, a lot of people haven't seen Jan and really appreciated the striker he is.
Absolutely. And I'm glad we can agree on something because I have a feeling we're not going to agree on this next topic.
Okay.
Here. Next topic, we have this week's fight night for UFC is Darren Till up against Derek Brunson. Now, I'll let you give your prediction first on how you see this fight playing out and who you got winning.
When I saw the betting lines this week, I was actually mad because Darren Till I did not think was going to be the favorite. I didn't. I actually thought the favorite was going to be Derek Brunson. And the reason why I was mad is because I like to pick the underdog and be right. But in this case, I'm picking the favorite, and I still think I'm going to be right, Dorian. I'm picking Darren Till. The reason why I'm picking Darren Till, he has over an 80% takedown defense rate, whereas Derek Brunson, his takedown rate is only 33%, where he's able to land takedowns. That's pretty big because Darren Till, you can say that he's going to be occupied trying to defend the takedown, and Derek Brunson is going to be attacking his lower half until he lands a takedown. I will not question that. I do think Derek Brunson is going to find a way to take Darren Till down. Derek Brunson is tenacious. That's a reason why he's on a 5-fight winning streak, especially against guys like Edmund Shabazian and Kevin Holland. But Darren Till's a different beast. He is a different animal. Look what he did against Robert Whittaker. He lost the fight, but he landed that monstrous left hand in the first round that dropped Robert Whittaker. It did. It hurt Robert Whittaker. In Derek Brunson's last fight, Kevin Holland had him rocked. If Darren Till does that, he is going to get a TKO victory. That's my prediction. I don't know what round, but I think Darren Till is going to stop Derek Brunson because Derek Brunson also likes to strike because he likes to strike to set up his takedowns. That's where he's going to run into an issue.
That's a fair point. I think that even if the fight stays standing, I think Brunson is going to have more success than people are giving him credit for. I do think, obviously, Till is the better pure striker. He's like a Muay Thai specialist. So his striking is on point. I'll never deny that. His left hand is like a piston. If Brunson gets hit with that, he's probably going to sleep. But I have Brunson in this fight. I knew we disagree. I have Brunson. I think he's on a run right now. Not for nothing. 5-fight win streak. Hasn't been the most impressive guys, but you can only fight who's in front of you. So I think when he gets to the octagon, he's going to realize Darren Till is huge. The takedowns might not work, but just threatening the takedown, like you said, it can change this fight because Darren Till's takedown defense is amazing. But you got to remember, most of his career so far has been at 170. And he's a big guy. So he was cutting a lot of weight to make 170. It's easier to defend those takedowns against smaller guys. Now he's at 185, more a natural weight class for him. I think Brunson's used to throwing dudes around at 85. And I think this is going to be, I usually like to predict finishes, but I don't see it. I don't see this fight getting stopped on either end. Unless Till gets this, if there's a stoppage, Till will be the one knocking Brunson out. Let's be clear. But I think Brunson actually grinds him out for 5 rounds. I think this is a back and forth fight. But I just think Brunson's gas tank is way more reliable than Till's, in my opinion. And I think that'll be the end all be all in this fight. The wrestling in the gas tank for me.
The only way Derek Brunson wins is if he's able to hold Darren Till down. But you know what, Dorian? Although he held Kevin Holland down for most of the fight in March, Kevin Holland still found his way up. He was able to shrimp up. Although it wasn't much impressive, he still found his way to his feet. It may not have been for a long time. But if Kevin Holland, like I said, if Kevin Holland was able to get to his feet and be effective, what do you think Darren Till is going to do? That's why, to me, I just don't think it will be as cut and dry as, all right, I'm going to take Darren Till down for the span of 5 rounds, hold him there, beat up on him, and then win. To me, I just don't see that happening. It could. I just don't think that's going to be the case because Darren Till, he has experience with that at 185. Kelvin Gastelum, although Kelvin kind of at times strays off of the path of being a wrestler, he does have that wrestling background. And Kelvin did try to wrestle with Darren Till at UFC 244, and it didn't really work. That's why Darren Till won that fight. I could see this going very similar to that. And also, if you're Darren Till, the fight he should have studied of Derek Brunson's is Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya wrote the playbook on how to beat Derek Brunson. Thrust your hips, stuff the takedowns, keep the fight standing, and then outstrike him there. Edmund Shabazian tried to do that, but he's just young. That was the problem. He was just too young to do that. And Kevin Holland, I don't even know if he worked on wrestling heading into that camp. Darren Till, I think, is smart enough to know that, all right, I need to work on my sprawling. I need to work on my takedown defense in order to beat this guy. And I think he will.
I will say, on your Adesanya point, it looked like Brunson kind of gassed after a few takedown attempts, and Izzy was just able to pick him apart because he's a sniper, as is Darren Till. But I do think Brunson's cardio has gotten better.
He is a different fighter. Yep. Yeah,
for the Shabazian fight, honestly, that fight should have been stopped. I think at the end of the second, it got to the third. He landed a mean elbow. Shabazian did not want to get up. And you make an interesting point. I like the way that you say this. You're good with words, Mike.
Thank you.
You say he has to take Darren Till down and hold him there. I don't think that's the case. If he can get, the first round, maybe a feel-out process, give Till the round. Because mind you, this is 5 rounds. Second round, if he can get that takedown, land some good ground and pound, before Till gets up, just wear on him, just lay on him, hold him down, beat him up a little bit, bloody his face, maybe cause a cut with one of those sharp elbows. We've seen him land over and over. I think maybe Till's spirit might be broken because when he moved up, he thought it was going to be peaches and cream. I'm going to fight the champ. I'm going to be the champ at 85. Couldn't be the champ at 70. And it's been up and down. It's been up and down. But if he gets hit with some good ground and pound, I can see him fading towards the end of the fight. And that 83 or 82% takedown defense won't be the same because it's not going to be the same fighter. He's going to be tired. He's going to be worn out. I'm down 2 rounds to 1. I got to win this round to win. Boom, takedown. Hold him down for a minute and a half. And now he's scrambling to his feet, gassed a little bit, trying to strike and overcommitting the strikes. And I think Brunson, let's please not say he cannot strike with Darren Till because he can. He will get pieced up, as anybody will going up against Till. But I think Brunson can hold his own on the feet until it's time to take it to the ground. I think Brunson's going to be in control. He's going to be the one pushing the pace. And I think that pace, if Till's cardio doesn't hold up, he's going to be in for a long night. He should pack a lunch.
It's not that Derek Brunson can't hold his own on the feet because he is a quality striker, but is he going to be able to last 5 rounds or just keep trying to search for a takedown by standing on the feet? I don't know if he's going to be able to do that with Darren Till because, look, he can hang in there, but he's going to get caught. That's the thing. That's what we need to talk about. And another thing you brought up, Dorian, you said the cardio. Wrestling takes a lot out of you. That's important, and that is something that favors Derek Brunson. Another thing that favors Derek Brunson is his activity compared to Darren Till. Darren Till has not fought since July 2020.
His collarbone was broken.
Yeah,
he said it's still giving him some issues too.
I hope that's not the case because
I think he might have been joking. He was like, "Oh, Derek, don't aim for my collarbone." Haha. Like he's a jokester. He's a funny guy, but I believe him. His collarbone probably still hurts.
I think it would have to, right? Because his injury happened in between July and December of last year. I don't know if I'm not a doctor, but I don't think a collarbone heals that quickly, or I'm sure you still feel some pain from said collarbone injury. And like I was saying, Derek Brunson needs to take advantage of the fact that he has been active and Darren Till has not. I think if he's able to capitalize on that, that should be the reason why he's going to win this fight. And that's also why I thought Derek Brunson was going to be the betting favorite. That's why I thought he should have been the betting favorite because he's been more active. And wrestling, you're able to control where the fight goes. So you should have the advantage. But again, if he's not able to land those takedowns, right, and the fight stays on the feet, what's going to happen? That's where I think the fight starts to slide away from Brunson and favors Till. Even though Till has been off, I think Brunson will be in for a tough night. So you said pack a lunch. I think Brunson will need to pack a dinner.
I hope he's not eating packed dinners, man. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. This is the old matchup, wrestler versus striker. And I told myself after Lima got dominated by Emazov, I told myself I'm never picking against the grappler again. And I don't think I have yet. So I'm not trying to be biased, but I do actually think Derek Brunson has a path to victory, the more paths to victory than just Darren Till landing his left hand. So it's going to be interesting. It's also a really good card. Like I think they were supposed to do this one in England. You know, they have Tom Aspinall co-maining, who's Darren Till's training partner. They have Paddy Pimblett making his UFC debut. He's the Cage Warrior. I think he was 2-weight world champ, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have the next GSP, which is what I was told Jack Shore is. I was very impressed in his last outing. I don't know how he's on the undercard. I think he's like 12-0 with like 10 finishes or 14-0 with 12 finishes. Still on the undercard. Makes no sense to me. But yeah, we're going to have a great card. capped off with another slamming middleweight main event. So I'm hype.
As you should be. I think everyone is. If you're a real mixed martial arts fan, this is a fight or a card you should watch. And also, if I'm not mistaken, it has an earlier start time too. I believe it starts 4 p.m. Eastern time. So that's great. The night will end around 10 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Pacific. So that's great. And to your point about Jack Shore, the UFC is notorious for giving guys a slow burn, a slow build up to the top. Look at Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman was a world beater at 170 pounds, and guys were trying to avoid him. Kamaru Usman was just kept on the bottom part of undercards before he fought Damian Maia. That was a fight night card in May 2018. But before then, he wasn't a guy that a lot of people knew or a lot of people talked about until he was an undeniable force. If Jack Shore is able to be that way, it may take him several more years before he's able to headline or be a part of a co-main. But if he keeps winning and rattling off victories, he might be there.
Yeah, and on your Usman point, I remember I had watched this like little Usman doc on Fight Pass, and he said that he actually asked to be on fight night cards because his father was in jail and they could watch ESPN in jail. So he wanted his father to see him fight. So part of that was his own doing, but part of that was just people completely ducking him. Mm-hmm. Same thing. There's a lot of usually the grapplers are getting ducked. Usman, he got ducked. Habib got ducked coming up. And I don't know if Jack Shore is getting ducked per se, but it's interesting why they have him on the prelims. And this is supposed to be an international card. He's an international fighter, very exciting. He's a finisher. I just looked it up. He's 14-0 with 12 finishes. So I was right the second time. That's insane. That's insane. Like that. I don't know how he's on the prelims, but last time I saw him fight, they said this is the bantamweight GSP. So I was like, wow, I didn't know of him, but I'm hip now, and I'm a Jack Shore fan. I'm rooting for Jack Shore, and I think Patty may have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew. I think Luigi actually beats him, not for nothing. But we'll see how that one plays out. I hope Patty has a good debut. I don't want to see anybody pooping their roses, I think the saying is. But yeah, so I think Patty might have bitten off a little more than he can chew. He's been talking a little crazy. I think Luigi gets the jump on him, and I think he stops him, actually.
You know what? Paddy Pimblett, in a way, is kind of getting the Jake Paul treatment. Not exactly, but by that I mean Jake Paul joined Showtime and got fed to a wolf in Tyron Woodley. Paddy Pimblett now, the UFC's not playing any games. They want to see what he's made of. I think Luigi Vendramini, he fought a good fight against Fares Ziam, but he lost it because Ziam really just took the fight over, just outstruck him, I thought. Paddy Pimblett at 155 pounds, he's dynamic. And that's what I think the UFC's banking on. He also has a massive personality. Many people compare him to Conor McGregor. No. I'm comparing him to Darren Till. They sound exactly the same. If you've ever heard a Paddy Pimblett interview and you weren't looking at the screen, you would think it's Darren Till because they're both from Liverpool. That's why he's on the main card too, because he can fight, and so far he can back up what he's talking about with his performances in the cage. I personally think Paddy Pimblett's going to beat Luigi Vendramini, but you could be right, though. You could be right because Vendramini, he's a vet. Paddy Pimblett, this is his first fight. This is his first fight in the UFC. I don't think he's bitten off more than he can chew, but who knows?
Well, I mean, not him biting off more than he can chew. That's not what I meant to say. Okay. I just think the UFC fed him, like you said, he fed him a wolf off rip. Yep. There's no warm-up. There's no, fight this guy who's on his way out. No, like, Luigi's might knock you senseless or choke you out. Like, he has submission wins on his record as well. He's not just a striker. So, and Patty as well. I was watching a few of his Cage Warriors fights. So, they're both well-rounded. I think it's going to be an amazing fight card, up and down. You got the Brits everywhere. Shouts out England. I wish this card was in England. That would be huge for
Oh my
Darren Till.
goodness. With Sweet Caroline? Oh my God.
Man. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think they would have made Till the A side if this was in England.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, is there anything else we missed so far?
No, I mean, we pretty much covered everything that needs to be covered. I'm gonna give a warning for next week's show. The Oscar De La Hoya conversation, a part of my childhood is going to die next week when we start talking about Oscar, because it's going to pain me when we are going to have to talk about him.
Hey, I'm always here to slander people who are boxing and they shouldn't be. But yeah, other than that, guys, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. All Malik wants for his birthday is 1,000 subs. I don't know how many we're off now, but IG, Twitter, TWSN, my @ right here. I got to get this down. I'll get it down one day. Right here, Michael Daly's the man. You already follow him, I'm sure. Other than that, strikes and submissions. Till next week. Peace.
Get up, let me begin. This